Hello to all my friends and family, and welcome to Jim's 5 a.m. Club. I'm just coming to you from my car in the front driveway because it's raining. It's raining, it's overcast, it's raining, and I just needed to get out and about and do a 5 a.m. Club, and doing it inside with Paula watching TV wasn't a good idea. So I've come to the seclusion of my car, and I'll try and get out a 5 a.m. club to just get the numbers clicking along, because I'm all about content at the moment, not about interested in likes, not interested in perfection, but just interested in progressing along the path and just trying to get as much out there as possible, whilst I've still got the momentum, the drive and the passion. What I have found though, whilst we're on the topic, is that while I'm working, and I work and I'm on my feet 8 to 10 hours a day, when I'm really busy working, I am more motivated to deliver these 5 a.m. clubs. I'll do 2 before work. I start at 6. I do 2 before 6 o'clock. I'll do 1 at 9 o'clock when I have my break, 1 at lunchtime, and 1 or 2 after work. Whereas at the moment that I'm on a break and I'm not working, I find it hard. And you probably understand where I'm coming from. I find it hard to find the motivation, and I get a bit of writer's block, so to speak. But I need to push myself. I need to continue to push myself to make some progress and to keep on going, because I've got a target of 1,000 of these vlogs to do. And my target is 1,000 vlogs. That's a lot of vlogs. I'm up around the 6. I'm closing on 600 at the moment. I've done 61 in Greek, and this is number 593 or 94. So I'm closing in on some very big numbers. But what I want to do is I want to continue along the same vein that I started a couple of days ago. I came across a book, and sometimes you come across books which are just so good and have so many life hacks in them that you just can't put them down and leave them down. You've just got to pick out of them all the good bits, which I like the morsels. I like savouring some good bits from these books. And the book that I'm referring to, it's called Factfulness by an author called Hans Rosling. And he says, and his main theme of the book is that there are 10 instincts that humans have, which are natural instincts, which are wired into us, hardwired. And these instincts distort the way we see the world. They distort our perspectives, and they change the way we see the world, the way we experience the world, and they prevent us from seeing it the way it really is. So I read this book summary, and I was so impressed with it that I just simply want to do a deep dive on each of these instincts and share them with you. And let's kick off and get going through it. The instinct that I'm going to talk about today is called the fear instinct, and it's a powerful one. So far we've been through the gap instinct, the us versus them instinct. We've been through the negativity instinct, that we're wired to be negative. We've been through the generalization instinct, where we tend to group things incorrectly into different groups. And we've been through the size instinct, that we find it hard to put things into perspective and to see proportionality and perspective in the world, because numbers are not everybody's forte. And this one here is called the fear instinct, and it's another powerful one. Absolutely powerful. I just love this one here as well, because what the author reminds us of is that the way we're wired is that we have a tendency to pay more attention to things that we fear. We pay more attention to things that make us feel uncomfortable. Because remembering that fear is things that sit outside our comfort zone, and we're uncomfortable doing those things for various reasons. One, they could be really, really dangerous. But the important message that comes from the author, and I've read about it time and time again, and I've talked about it time and time again, is that most fears, the majority of the fears that we have, are irrational fears. Are irrational fears and are fears which are not real. And we learn time and time again from our readings that less than 10% of all your fears will ever come to fruition. And of your irrational fears, maybe none of them will ever come to fruition unless it's one huge monumental fluke. So the author says that we've got to be careful, we've got to be mindful of our fears and know that we're wired to be fearful. And that fearfulness, as I said before in another vlog, was important. It was important 2,000 years ago when you were fighting hand-to-hand combat, or when you were walking through a jungle and there was a lion behind the bushes there. You needed to be fearful because your life depended on it. So you needed to be careful in order to survive. But since those early times of mankind, we're now living in a world where, our cars have never been safer. The environment, the world has never been a safer place. Fair enough, we've got COVID-19, but even that is manageable. And there's never been more opportunity. So we are living in the best times that the world has ever seen. Even though the media will tell you otherwise, the important thing is to understand is that we are living in some pretty good times. But the author says that most of us, most people, and you look around at your friends, your family, and different people, and you will see that there are people who are constantly, and even children, constantly living in fear. There's eco-anxiety, there's identity politics, there is anxiety everywhere amongst many, many people. And a lot of that anxiety is causing health issues, is causing relationship issues, is causing a number of issues. Because the author also says, and this I never thought about this before, but when you're fearful, what happens chemically in your body is that your amygdala it's a part of your brain which is the size of a walnut, size and shape of a walnut. I don't know where it sits in your brain, but that is your radar, that's your early warning system, and it scans the environment for danger. And when it finds danger, and that danger could be real danger or it could be perceived danger. It could be real or it could be bullshit. But once your amygdala is activated, then it surges into your body adrenaline, cortisol, and all of these chemicals, this chemical soup that gets you ready for fight or flight. All right, so you're agitated, you're on edge. And when these things are activated all the time and they're not required, then they have an impact on your health. Now, we know that stress, too much stress, too much of the bad stress is not good for you. So the author also says something else which is really powerful. And this is the point that I was getting at, but I took the loop to get here. And in a world where you see people not thinking with critical thinking skills anymore, the author says that you can't express critical thinking. So listen up here. This is a powerful point. The author says that you can't express critical thinking skills when you are scared. when you are afraid. When your body has adrenaline surged into it, all of a sudden your clarity of thinking is obscured. And what happens is that the brain reverts to its reptilian basic thinking mode of operation. It's like a software program. It goes into reboot mode and it just does the bare minimum to enable you to survive. That's why when you're agitated, when you're angry, when you're really, really stressed, and I've been really, really stressed in my work. I worked for a top-tier law firm, and there are times that I was under immense stress. And I remember when I was under immense stress, I just stopped functioning. I just couldn't think. I just couldn't act. I couldn't even do a basic task. So the reason why that happens is that your body goes into the reptilian or basic mode, and you're ready to fight or flight. You get nervous, you start shaking, but you feel really energized. You know, you feel explosive in terms of what you can do. Just an aside, another point. Years ago when I was working as a mobile phone salesperson, I was in a shopping centre and I had two people who I was talking to about a double mobile phone plan, which was a good money spinner. And whilst I was talking to them, I just heard some screaming, and I looked up and I saw this lady running out of a jewellery shop, screaming and throwing her hands up in the air and screaming and running. Anyway, I just kept on talking. I kept my sales spiel going, because as a salesperson, you know that it's all about momentum and you mustn't hesitate, because once you hesitate, that's when the sale gets distracted, or the people get distracted and excuses come in. I'll do it next time, or blah, 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 blah. So you need to keep it going. It's a little bit like seduction. You need to continue the path, keep the yeses coming without distraction, and lead the customer to where you want to lead them. And then out of the shop came two men walking back to back and carrying something, and one man had a gun, so they were holding up the jewellery shop. And I remember just standing there looking at them, unable to move, and they walked past me. And I remember the guy with the gun, and I looked down the barrel of a pistol. I remember seeing the whole of the barrel of the pistol pointing towards me, and I couldn't move. So once again, I had reverted to that reptilian state, and that's why I understand that when there were gunmen in shopping centres shooting people, they're easy targets, because people just freeze. You just freeze. You just can't do anything. You just freeze, unless you're trained and you've got a pre-worked out thing to do. But I'm not trained in that sort of stuff, so I just froze. But that's an aside, but I'm just giving you a real life example of what happens to people when they're under extreme stress. So the author also goes to say something which we're all aware of, that the image of a dangerous world has never been broadcast more effectively than it is now, while the world has never been less violent and more safe. So it's all about the broadcasting. It's all about the news, the social media, making fear top of mind, and it becomes top of mouth and becomes top of everything in our lives. And that's why we're anxious. That's why we're stressed, because everywhere we look, it's bad news. Everywhere everybody we talk to, it's negativity. It's creating fear. It's making us uncomfortable. We're always stressed, worried, and anxious. So you need to manage that. So this book here says, first of all, we need to be aware of it. And once you're aware of it, then you can manage it. So the author says that our natural fears of violence, captivity, and contamination makes us fearful and systematically overestimates the risks that they pose. So just because the media is talking about COVID all the time doesn't mean that the risk of getting COVID increases. You know, we've got to be aware that just because people talk about it all the time and voice it and echoes everywhere you go, it's echoing the same message over again, doesn't make it more riskier, doesn't make it more dangerous, doesn't make the news worse. Even though for most people, if you tell them something once, they'll accept it. If you tell them 10 times, then they'll it'll overwhelm them. So just be careful. So the world seems scarier than it is because what you hear about it has been selected by your own attention filter or by the media precisely because it is scary. So what they're saying is that you need to be careful what you tune into. Because we've all got a filter. It's called the reticular activating system, which identifies things that are of interest, that we've defined is of interest, is dangerous, or is something that is urgent and needs to get done. So our reticular activating system is a filter. Otherwise, if we didn't have a filter, then everything that goes into our subconscious would spew up into our conscious, and we'd have that chatter and we'd go absolutely crazy. So what the author talks about is the fact that we have a channel. Our filter is a channel, and you're tuned into certain topics. You know, there are some people who are overly suspicious, and they're always tuned into conspiracy theories like 5G or COVID-19 or vaxxers, you know, putting chips in vaxxers and putting chips in people. Oh my God. Silly things like that. So remember that you are the person who adjusts that channel to what you're tuned into. And the media knows exactly what it wants to report and broadcast, because it knows that by keeping you scared, by keeping you horrified, then they've got your attention, because your reticular activating system is tuned to horror, to fear. So just be careful how you tune yourself and what you tune into, but most importantly, now be careful who you hang out with, what you read, and most importantly, the self-talk, what you think and what you're feeding yourself. Because other people can say whatever they want. You know, 1,000,001 people can talk to me and tell me whatever they think. But I'm very, very selective in what I allow to go through. And I encourage you to be selective as well. Because if it doesn't align to your values, if it doesn't align to your goals, if it doesn't align to your beliefs, then you can disregard it. You don't have to take it in just because somebody else is saying it. Just because 100 people on a Facebook group are saying something, it doesn't make it right and doesn't mean that you have to accept it. So that's something very, very important to take up. So the other thing is we need to understand, and I learned this years ago in terms of my pricing and my accountancy, that there are risks and there's risk assessment and risk management. So people are really, really bad at understanding what the danger is, or they're really, really good at understanding what the danger is, but they're really bad at working out what their exposure is or what the probability of that thing happening. So yeah, by all means, you park under a tree, the tree could fall and crush the car. But what are the chances of it happening? So the important thing that the author talks about here is to understand that, yes, there is a risk. There is a risk in everything we do. But with that risk is also what your exposure is. What is the chance of it impacting you? So you need to be able to clearly think about it and make a risk assessment. And what you'll find, and as I've said time and time again, that most of our fears are irrational. They don't make sense. They're illogical. And they're fears that you've either inherited or you've created or other people have forced upon you. So you need to assess all of those things, and it's best to write them down. Have a journal and log your thoughts. What are you worried about? And then ask yourself, well, what's the worst that can happen? Yes, the worst that can happen is I can kill myself. But what are the chances of it happening? And, decide from there. Yes, they always tell us that if you break the law doing something, if you trespass, or if you do something, there's a $20,000 fine. But what they never tell you is that it's up to $20,000. If you get caught, it could be $0, it could be $1,000, it could be $100, it could be $20,000. But the $20,000 that they tell you is the fine, is the maximum fine. And you understand that most people get caught by the police doing things, and most people get off. There are criminal lawyers everywhere, ensuring that the criminals in our society are not behind bars, but living amongst us. So just think about the risk assessment, and sadly, most criminals are the ones who are getting away with their crimes. So the other thing that the author talks about here, which is important, and I've never thought about this one here before, but then again, we're learning as we're going. And that's the beauty of Jim's 5 a.m. Club. They say here that don't make decisions when you are afraid. Because when you are afraid, you see the world differently. You don't see it better, but you see it differently. All right, so you have to understand that you need to be in the right state to make the right decisions. And that's why it's really good to be able to sleep on decisions and to be in the right state to make a quality decision. And there's no harm in saying I need time to decide. If anything, people give you respect. But by the same token, you need to balance that up, because opportunities come and go. So it's easy to make a decision if you've thought about it beforehand. It's easy to make a quick decision if you know what your goals are, if you know what your values are, if you know what your beliefs are, if you know what your action plan is. And if something comes up and it's on your radar of things that you want to do or things that you want to achieve, then bang, you can make the quick decision. But if you've got none of that and you're just drifting, then chances are of making a quick decision are difficult, because you don't know what you believe, you don't know what you want, you don't know what your values are, if it's something you want, if it's something that's important or not important. So understand that there's a process behind it, but you can circumvent that process. You can shortcut that process by having thought about all these things, journaled them, worked out exactly where you are, where you want to be, and be able to do it. So that's it. The bottom line is to not make decisions when you're in an unresourceful state, but to know that we are wired for fear, and you see it everywhere. People too scared to say things, too scared to do things for fear of being cancelled because of the cancel culture, too scared to voice their Christian beliefs, their cultural beliefs, for fear of being attacked. But at the end of the day, there's nothing more important, there's nothing freer than living an authentic life by living your destiny, living the way that your birthright. So it's up to each and every one of us to conquer our fears, to conquer the challenges, the pain that we all have, and to know that we have people around us who are negative, people who are FUDs, Mr. FUD, Mr. FUDs, people who are just constantly sowing seeds of fear, uncertainty and doubt. But to also know that you can counter all of that by having your own force field, like Lost in Space. Put your force field around your bubble. We're all learning to live in our bubbles these days, and to not worry about what other people think, as long as you're living to your beliefs, your values, and to know that most of the fears that you have, most of the fears that the people around you have, are imported from other people, are irrational, are fears that have little chance of materializing, and are fears that are basically stopping people from living, from growing, developing, and being the person that they need to be. Because we need to know that, and I've read this in another book, that if you fear something, it should be an invitation to you to take action and to do it. Because every fear that you conquer, you become stronger, you become more capable, and you become fearless. I'm not talking about becoming reckless. I'm talking about taking on the fears respectfully, but knowing that through action they can be overwhelmed. They can be beaten too, and the fear is just up here. Have belief, pray, and just do what you need to do to get and to live your calling or callings. Anyway, that's about it from this wonderful book, Factfulness by Hans Rosling, The Fear Instinct. Just and understand that we're wired for fear, and whilst once upon a time it used to serve us, it no longer serves us. All right? As long as we can do risk management and risk assessment, we're able to manage our fears and to manage the risks and to understand what the probability is. We'll get a better chance of understanding what the probability is of these fears materializing. Then just get on with your life and just get it done. So let's finish off with a positive affirmation. I'm alive, I am well, and I feel absolutely great. To my friends and family, stay connected, stay relevant, and most importantly, don't live in fear, and don't let people around you make you fearful and make you worry about things that are not worth worrying about. Take care, and I look forward to catching you again on another Jim's 5 a.m. Club from a different location, hopefully. Hopefully the weather will improve. But they're talking about rain all week. So, so I wouldn't be surprised if I'm coming to you from this vehicle all week, because I'm on holidays, so I'm not in the city, I'm not working. I'm at home with my beautiful wife Paula, but I don't want to be doing the Jim's 5 a.m. clubs from inside the house, if you know what I mean. So I like being in my little bubble here, my car, and to just sit back, lie back in the leather seats and chat away. Anyway, until next time, Yassas, Kiradismata, all the very best for the last week of 2020, and let's hope that 2021 is a better year. But regardless of what 2021 brings us, we are going to be fearless, and we're going to take action, grow, develop, expand, and become the best version of ourselves that we could possibly be, to make our parents, family and friends proud, and to be able to be in a position to help them grow and develop as well. Yassas. Bye for now. Ciao.